The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 1743.
Senate File number 1743, number 3 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to education, the first engrossment.
Representative Christensen, would you like to put the House language in before you present your bill?
Yes, Madam Chair.
The clerk will report the amendment.
Christensen moves to amend Senate File number 1743. The first engrossment is followed, and the amendment is DEA 1982.
All those in favor of inserting the House language, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Representative Christensen, to your bill.
One of those for sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. I'm here to talk about our snow days and our polar vortex. This winter has been historic, to say the least, and our schools have had to cancel more days than they have in many, many years. Senate File 1743 is a bipartisan bill that came through the Education Policy Committee. I've got bipartisan authors on it with me and full bipartisan support through the committee, so I hope that you can support the bill also. The bill asks that school districts assure that hourly employees are paid on the days that school was canceled. It also makes sure that contract workers are paid, bus drivers, possibly cooks, service workers, things like that, that they are also paid. And that the days that were canceled in the polar vortex, which are the 29th, 30th, and 31st of January, are considered student contact days. So I hope time is of the essence. This has taken longer than I realized it would take, so I hope we can get the bill passed quickly. And I look forward to conferring with the Senate author, and I'm sure that we can get something passed that will serve our constituents, our schools, our families, teachers, and the staff at our schools. So I thank you.
Members, please take your conversations off the House floor into the alcoves or the retiring room. There's an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Jergens moves to amend Senate File number 1743, first engrossment as amended, and the amendment is coded A6.
The member from Washington, Representative Jergens.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. What this amendment does is if, for example, school bus drivers that didn't work because of the 3 polar vortex days, if the school district pays the bus company, and the bus company will pay the bus drivers. And this is for all hourly employees. I want to thank Representative Christensen for allowing me to weigh in on this, and Chair Dabney for your support on this as well. And I urge a green vote.
Discussion to the amendment. Representative Christensen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Jergens. I accept the amendment. It's a good amendment, and I enjoyed working with you. Thank you.
All those in favor of the Jergens amendment, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There's an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Haley moves to amend Senate File number 1743, the first engrossment as amended. The amendment is coded A11.
Representative Haley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This amendment was brought to me by my school superintendents, and I'm always proud to support my teachers and students and families in my district. 3 schools in my district are what we call one-to-one schools, which means they have laptops or tablets or other devices so that they can access their school websites and communicate with their teachers and access curriculum when they are not in the classroom. These are commonly referred to then as e-learning days. Cannon Falls this year not only had snow days, you might recall in the fall there was a tremendous tornado that went through Cannon Falls. And trees were down all over the community and buses couldn't get through to school. So that was an e-learning day for Cannon Falls. I also represent Lake City. They had 7 e-learning days this year, and Goodhue had 7 or 8 as well. All 3 of these communities use e-learning platforms, and I'm sure many in your districts might as well. Current state statute allows for 5 days to be counted when school districts use their e-learning days. My amendment is very simple. It increases that to 10 days when weather conditions like we've had this winter with snow and cold and even tornadoes don't allow kids to come to school. But I think we need to support those districts that are using these platforms so that kids can continue to learn. This doesn't change how e-learning is done. It doesn't require that schools use e-learning. It's for districts that have it. They will be allowed to use up to 10 days. And that my amendment also states that it is a local decision. They work with their unions and they work with their school boards to determine how many days they want to allow. I would stand for questions.
Discussion. The member from St. Louis, Representative Sandsted.
Point of order.
Please state your point of order.
Under 3.21, I believe this motion or this bill or this amendment is out of order. It expands the scope of the bill. House File 1982 is specific to dealing with only 3 days, January 29th through the 31st.
Madam Speaker, am I allowed to comment?
Advice? Please state your advice.
I think the bill generally is dealing with weather and snow days that have impacted our districts, and therefore it should apply. This is just another part of that process, whether we're saying to a district, you don't have to count those days at all, and kids weren't even in the classroom to learn. I'm talking about kids that were learning via another mechanism in my district, and they should also be able to count those days due to inclement weather.
I find the point of order well taken. There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 1743, as amended.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. The member from Hennepin, Representative Dabney.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Representative Christensen, I merely wanted to rise to thank you for being so responsive to your community, so responsive to students and families across the state, to teachers and school districts who have seen an unprecedented number of school days canceled this year, late starts. Some days it's because of snow, some days it's because of fog and road conditions, some days it's because of the weight of that snow on the roofs, creating potentially unsafe situations. You're striking the right balance here from supporting the districts and making the decisions that children and staff are safe and making sure that children are learning and staff are teaching, and also ensuring that those school staff who are hourly are not treated unfairly, but we recognize that the essential role they play, whether it's serving up lunch or driving the students to and from school or supervising the playground at recess or whatever their work may be, is also critical, and that their families need our support as well. So Representative Christensen, thank you for your work on this. Thank you for being so responsive, and I look forward to a green vote. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Sorry. The member from Wabasha, Representative Drazkowski.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. We have before us a bill that says, okay, well, we have it written in law that the school is supposed to provide this number of school days for the kids to learn for the money that we give them. That's what the law says. So what this bill is saying is, well, there were some snow days, so, you don't have to teach them as many days. Members, and Representative Christensen, I wondered, is it better for our kids to have more education or less education? That's obviously a rhetorical question. But members, this bill's not following common sense. this bill is not rewarding our kids with what we in law have decided is in their best interest. This bill is not providing for the taxpayers what they paid for, and that is to educate our kids according to the Constitution. We're shortchanging our kids with this bill. Why in the world cannot a school follow through with what we have in law now? I don't understand. I was shocked when the governor came out and said that he wanted to basically wipe these days off the calendar. We put $19 billion per year in our K through 12 schools, the largest part of our general operating fund budget, growing at about 9 or 10% per biennium. And now we're saying, you know what? We paid all that money, but schools, you don't have to do it. You don't have to teach them so much. I don't understand the why, members. I certainly understand the why not. And for that reason, Madam Speaker, I'm voting no on the bill. Encourage you members to do the same. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Roseau, Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And just a point for folks here. On the coldest days, Roseau, Ward, and Badette were going to school those days on the 29th or 30th, just so you know. And I'm not quite sure I understand all this fuss about the polar vortex living where I live. But that being said, Representative Dabney, you raised an interesting point, and you thanked Representative Christensen, and I do too, for responding to the concerns of your district and doing a good thing. And I applaud you for that. And members, we had a chance to help Representative Haley respond to the concerns of her district. And you chose not to. Madam Speaker, I'm disappointed in that. This is not the way this body should be running. Representative Dabney said something about, not treating people unfairly. Well, we just treated a couple of school districts unfairly, in my opinion. Thank you.
The member from Washington, Representative Christensen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members. I would like to address Representative Haley, and I think her concerns, much more has to be done with e-learning. I am an educator, so I do believe that much more has to be done with e-learning. I just think it's outside of the scope and the time frame of what we're doing with the bill here, but I would love to work on something in the future. So, and I hope that you'll vote green for students. Thank you.
The clerk will take the roll. Members, please vote. The clerk will close the roll. There being 105 ayes and 21 nays, the bill is passed and its title, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to.